Assistant Secretary O'Brien, dear colleagues, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you and the whole U.S. delegation here in Yerevan to hold the second capstone meeting of the Armenia-U.S. Strategic Dialogue. Today's meeting is yet another expression of high-level political dialogue between our two countries that will give another impetus to the evolving partnership between Armenia and the United States. The strong commitment to democratic principles is at the very core of our partnership. Despite the fact that democracy is threatened globally, including in our region, despite the security challenges and emerging hybrid threats, the government of Armenia is decisive to follow the democratic choice of its people, to strengthen the relevant state institutions, to ensure the rule of law and strong protection for human rights. In this context, our active participation in the Summit for Democracy in recent years is one of the vivid manifestations of Armenia's commitment and engagement towards building a more robust democracy, resilient enough to face and overcome all these difficulties. I do believe that our like-minded partners, and namely the United States of America, fully support and stand with us to prove that democracies are capable of delivering. And here, in order to succeed, we should be deepening multidimensional and multi-sectoral cooperation, including but not limited to economy and energy, defense and security, high technologies and cybersecurity, justice and the rule of law. The bilateral agenda continues to expand and include dimensions critical for the resilience and sustainable development of Armenia. In this context, I want to recall the high-level Armenia-US-EU meeting held on the 5th of April 2024 in Brussels and the arrangements indicated in the joint press statement. We also believe that our enhanced partnership, along with the continued US support for the sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of the Republic of Armenia, holds the potential to contribute to the establishment of durable and dignified peace in the South Caucasus. In this context, I want to reiterate that Armenia remains strongly committed to the normalization of relations with Azerbaijan and border delimitation based on the mutual recognition of territorial integrity in accordance with the 1991 Alma-Ata Declaration. We believe there is a real opportunity, a historic momentum to finalize the draft peace treaty, the signing of which could open the door for lasting peace in the region. As part of the peace agenda and vision for regional development, Armenia is also strongly interested in unblocking all regional communications based on full respect for countries' sovereignty and jurisdiction and the principles of equality and reciprocity, as underpinned by our government's initiative of Crossroads of Peace. Dear colleagues, coming to the agenda of today's meeting, we have a wide array of concrete steps and plans to discuss, ranging from economic and energy diversification to defense and justice reforms. We have been efficient in utilizing 3 working groups under the auspices of Armenia-US Strategic Dialogue and holding relevant meetings in 2023. Considering the growing nature and dynamics of bilateral relations, we are hopeful to upgrade our strategic dialogue to a strategic partnership commission that could further enhance the structured approach to our multifaceted cooperation. On sectoral cooperation, with the participation of our relevant agencies, we will have a chance to review growing economic cooperation, including in the framework of the Armenia-US Trade and Investment Framework Agreement and further trade liberalization that could bring more prosperity, development, and opportunities for the Armenia's economy and make it more resilient. I believe there are additional mechanisms and effective tools to support economic diversification, and we will discuss how to make the best use of them. Given the current challenges, energy diversification is also an important part of our agenda, and we will review the work already done and look into perspectives, including in the fields of nuclear energy and renewables. In defense cooperation, it is with satisfaction that I note the holding of the Eagle Partner exercise in 2023. We are interested in further exploring possibilities for cooperation for Armenia's defense transformation. I would also like to stress justice and public sector reforms and Armenia's commitment to strengthen democratic institutions aimed at building a stronger, more secure and advanced environment for our citizens. We have made significant progress. The results are tangible and visible. Dear colleagues, these are our today's main priorities, while the interest to enhance our cooperation goes beyond the sectors I mentioned. We have a comprehensive agenda before us, and I look forward to a fruitful and productive session. I'm confident that our discussions today will further solidify our partnership and advance our shared vision of a democratic, peaceful, and prosperous future. Dear Mr. Assistant Secretary, now I invite you to deliver your remarks and proceed with our capstone session.
Thank you, Mr. Minister, and it's a wonderful thing to see such robust delegations on both our sides. I think it reflects the breadth of the agenda that we're working through and the way that the relationship between Armenia and the United States is developing very quickly. I'm delighted to be here to reaffirm our strong support for this bilateral relationship and for the developments, many of which you pointed toward in your remarks. The people of Armenia repeatedly over the last years have chosen democracy and reform and a way forward, and have rejected efforts to have them turned back. The government under Prime Minister Pashinyan has led an impressive effort to institute reforms that will better integrate Armenia into the global economy and that will allow the people of Armenia to express themselves democratically in a system built on the rule of law. And we're proud in the United States to support this effort. What we are doing here today reflects many dimensions of the work, but is merely the foundation of further work that we will do together. As a result of all this work over the last 6 years, Armenia now is a robust economy. It has one of the most impressive growth rates in the region. And as our delegations discussed when I was in Brussels on April 5th with President von der Leyen and Secretary Blinken and Prime Minister Pashinyan, we see great opportunities to increase the bilateral trade and increase Armenia's role in regional and global trade as well. That's why I'm very pleased that immediately after our session, the two countries will sign an agreement on the exchange of information related to customs. This sounds like a small step, but it will unlock opportunities for trade by making it easier for businesses and for people to work together over the years to come. And it's just an initial down payment on the promise that we saw when we met in Brussels this past April. Now, the political developments of Armenia reflect the democratic aspirations of the people of Armenia. And we're very encouraged that the government has made significant strides, some with our assistance, to make the rule of law foundational, to stamp out corruption, and to allow people to express their views democratically. We support all of these efforts. And we're doing that not only at the national level, but we are doing it between our legislatures with a significant visit of members of Congress coming, and we are doing it at the subnational level with a delegation of mayors from across the United States coming next week, along with a senior U.S. official to support. And where is Nina? Oh, there she is, who has put that together. And so we're really glad that she's able to join this and knit it together with the significant work that will be coming next week as well. Now, we know that for Armenia, security, democracy, and prosperity go hand in hand. And you mentioned our 3 working groups, and they reflect each of those dimensions of our relationship. So we support all the work that the government of Armenia has been doing for security, for prosperity, and for democracy of the Armenian people. We also support the efforts you mentioned at bringing a lasting peace to the region. We think it will unlock economic opportunity from Central Asia all the way through to the Mediterranean if there's lasting peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And we're very pleased to offer the help that we can to bring that about. On practical work within Armenia, I know that one of our Deputy Assistant Secretaries of State working on international narcotics and law enforcement matters, so Brandon Yoder, was recently here and discussed ways that we can deepen law enforcement and justice sector cooperation. We're going to continue measures in that field. We've also begun to step up our work together on matters of security and defense. As you mentioned, last year, it marked our first ever bilateral defense exercise, Eagle Partner. That was since 2008, and we'll look forward to more. We also see potential to work together on cybersecurity, border security, energy security, and food security, where there are opportunities for Armenia to provide for more of its own needs, and that will reduce the leverage that other countries may choose to use from time to time against Armenia. In all of these ways, we recognize that our relationship is deeper, stronger, and broader than it has been for years. And so in that regard, we're very pleased to announce that our plan is to upgrade this strategic dialogue to a strategic partnership, and that will reflect the depth of our relationship going forward. And I know we've discussed having a framework for that arrangement in place as we work to deepen what we are doing. As just one illustration of how wide the cooperation is and how we're working to deepen it, I have this very large delegation here joining me. So it includes Josh Huck, who's known to many of you as the Deputy Assistant Secretary, Major General Phillips from the European Command, as well as representatives from the Office of the Secretary of Defense, the Department of Commerce, Customs and Border Protection, and then we have our colleagues here from AID and the International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Offices based in Yerevan. That's a physical manifestation of the relationship that we're hoping to build over the next couple of days, and the work will continue. So in that regard, I just want to thank you for hosting us for these talks, and Ambassador Kveen and the embassy staff for helping to organize us all to be here. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Minister, to lead us through the agenda.
We see the huge work which has been done and at this very moment is being done, but we also should acknowledge the two personalities who mainly stand behind all these processes. We should acknowledge the work which is being done by the two ambassadors, and now I think it's their turn to step in. Madam Ambassador, Her Excellency,
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Minister, Mr. Assistant Secretary O'Brien. Your remarks, the remarks of Mr. Minister and yours, are a vivid indicator of the quality of the relations between Armenia and the United States. There is hard work behind on behalf of both governments and people who are not visible and who are not here. So I want to acknowledge all of those people as a whole, but also individually. Our partnership in recent years especially has been based on mutual interests, but also has been based on the principle of in the benefit of, not in contrast to. And I think this is the most important thing which ensures quality to these relations, and the fact that we are discussing now strategic partnership, an upgraded level of cooperation. But it's also very important that for the Republic of Armenia, the support by the United States to the acknowledgement of the territorial integrity, the recognition, but also the support of territorial integrity, sovereignty, democracy, independence of Armenia is key in this partnership. And we're very grateful that we are working on that effectively. You know, it was mentioned here about the sectors we're going to discuss today, the fields that we are addressing and new fields that we are addressing. But I also think that it is important to acknowledge some of the deliverables that we have registered so far, which was mentioned by both the Minister and by the Assistant Secretary. But I also want to acknowledge the humanitarian engagement of the United States and the return of the POWs with the cooperation with the United States, between Armenia and the United States. Back in June 2021, 15 POWs were returned as a result of this cooperation. In September 2022, 17 POWs were returned as a result of this cooperation, all in all 32, which is a big number. And I think that this dynamic should continue and should further work in this direction. The cooperation has also been based on, the bilateral cooperation has also been based on enhancing the regional stability. The vivid indicator of that are the 3 peace talks that have been conducted with the facilitation of the United States, but also generally the resilience, the enhancement of the resilience of the Republic of Armenia is also directed for this purpose. I look forward to working further with you all, and good luck to all of us today and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. Now I would like to invite Her Excellency Christina Quinn, Ambassador of the United States to Armenia, to deliver her remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Minister and Madam Ambassador. It's a great pleasure to welcome Assistant Secretary O'Brien and our delegation to Yerevan for today's capstone meeting. In the 2 years since our last capstone meeting in Washington, D.C., our bilateral relationship has grown exponentially. The pace of reciprocal high-level visits has reached new heights, and we welcomed, for instance, USAID Administrator Samantha Power last year, and we're happy to host President Khatchaturian in the United States just last month. We also expect several more high-level visits over the summer. Secretary Blinken and USAID Administrator Power's participation with Prime Minister Pashinyan and EU officials in the April 5th US-EU Armenia Support Conference in Brussels was also a significant milestone, raising the profile of our partnership and of Armenia's deepening ties to Europe and the United States. But our relationship isn't just defined by visits or meetings. We've seen tangible changes to the depth and breadth of our bilateral work here. For example, trade in goods between our two countries more than tripled between 2020 and 2023, reaching record highs last year, a trend we hope we can continue. Through joint military training and cooperation, like Exercise Eagle Partner, our defense institutions continue to share best practices and grow closer in a world where professional military cooperation is increasingly important. Through an expansive series of assistance programs and investments, the United States continues to demonstrate its support for Armenia as it implements its ambitious reform agenda, improving judicial, democratic, and governance institutions. And soon the United States and Armenia will expand our Sister Cities program, driving even closer ties between our people by connecting major U.S. cities with regional and local Armenian governments, ensuring that our relationship is not just defined by discussions among senior leadership, but is driven by local cooperation, improving the lives of all our citizens. I want to take a moment to thank the MFA and the Armenian Interagency across the table for their exceptional partnership over the past few years. It is the relationships and the people who do the work that make our ties stronger. When I sit down at a table with my Armenian counterparts, I know I'm working with reliable friends who are committed to share a vision of prosperity rooted in democracy. Foreign Minister Mիրզոյան, Deputy Foreign Minister Hovhannisyan, MFA America's Department Director Hakobian, and other colleagues here, your partnership is very deeply valued by all of us at the Embassy and in the U.S. government. So I look forward to our discussion of how to continue to grow our relationship. And back to you, Mr. Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. Now, it is with pleasure that I'm going to give floor to the other members of the two delegations, but before doing that, I would
Ստորագրվում է Հայաստանի Հանրապետության կառավարության եւ Ամերիկայի Միացյալ Նահանգների կառավարության միջև իրենց մաքսային մարմինների փոխադարձօգնության վերաբերյալ համաձայնագիրը։ Հայկական կողմից համաձայնագիրը ստորագրում է Հայաստանի Հանրապետության պետական եկամուտների կոմիտեի նախագահ Ռուստամ Բադասյանը։ Ամերիկյան կողմից համաձայնագիրը ստորագրում է Հայաստանի Հանրապետությունում ԱՄՆ դեսպան Քրիստինա Քվինը։ The agreement between the government of the Republic of Armenia and the government of the United States of America regarding mutual assistance between their customs administration is being signed. From the Armenian side, the agreement signs His Excellency Rustam Badasyan, Chairman of State Revenue Committee of the Republic of Armenia. From the American side, the agreement signs Her Excellency Christina Quinn, U.S. Ambassador to Armenia.